It's Two on the Aisle with me, Charles Gross, and Leslie Hoban Blake. Tonight, reviews of All the Way, Aladdin, The Cripple of Inishmaan, and If Then. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Two on the Aisle. Good evening, and I am Charles Gross.
And I am Leslie Hoban Blake.
And it's a busy time on the Great White Way.
It's all the shows crushed together to try to get in time for the Tonys and the other awards.
Yes, you mean like the Drama Desk?
Like the Drama Desk.
Yes, okay, can't forget the Drama Desk. So we're going to get right to it. This is the new favorite show of politicians in Washington, and with good reason. This is All the Way, and this is a biography of Lyndon Baines Johnson, who was our president during a very busy time in our country. It was the 60s. He was John F. Kennedy's vice president. He took over the presidency after Kennedy was shot, and he faced both things like civil rights, which he triumphed greatly, and Vietnam, which was probably his downfall. This concentrates mainly on his getting the Civil Rights Act passed and getting himself renominated for election. Vietnam comes into the picture ever so briefly, but mostly it's Johnson being Johnson. And what was Johnson? Johnson was the consummate politician. Johnson had worked his way up into the Congress. He knew how to work the system in a way that even Kennedy did not. He knew how to wheel, he knew how to deal. He knew when to give in, he knew when to get tough, and you see him doing everything here.
Well, it's not, but it's, you know, you said it's not too much about Vietnam. It's so much about the civil rights movement, and
Yes.
it's almost as if his co-star is Martin Luther King. And it's not the first time I've seen him, because Lawrence Luckinbill did a wonderful one-man show. I thought this was a one-man show at first, but this is a complete cast. And I think, although he was nominated for a Tony and a Drama Desk Award,
That's Bryan Cranston from Breaking Bad.
The young man, Brandon Durgan, playing Martin Luther King, I thought was a co-star and ought to have been recognized, and he wasn't. I felt very bad about that.
I enjoyed his performance. I wasn't as impressed with it as you were. This is a good performance, but this almost is a one-man show.
Well,
because Cranston is on the stage pretty much the whole time, not quite, but more or less. And you see him in everybody. This is like a reality show of the president. You see him in his office. You see him in bed. You realize the importance of how important his wife Lady Bird was in his life and to his career, but you also see where she fits in.
But you also
and she kind of has to take a back seat very often.
But you also get, the paradigm is Richard III. He comes out and he tells you what he's going to do, and he tells you why it's a good thing to do, and he tells you he gets a great deal of pleasure rubbing his hands about the evil quality of it all, and then he does it. In order to get the right thing, he goes through the, I'm not saying he's an evil man, but he uses that same paradigm.
He does know how to get down
Absolutely.
and dirty. Now, we have some scenes from the show, so let's take a quick look at All the Way.
Civil rights isn't the only thing I'm interested in, Dr. King. We got people in this country living in unbelievable poverty. I know. I grew up like that in the hill country, picking cotton on my hands and knees, harnessed like a mule to a road plow, living off the bitter charity of my neighbors. There's no silver spoon in my mouth like Bobby Kennedy. But I got a dream, you see, where we change all that. We're going to declare a war on poverty, and by God, we're going to beat it.
A war on poverty?
That's right. Now, I got all kinds of federal programs in mind on health, education, literacy, jobs, you name it. We're going to change this country, top to bottom.
Well, that sounds extraordinary.
There you go.
But right now, I need to be able to go back to my people and tell them that this president is committed to civil rights, and that this bill, even without voting rights, will still be a strong bill with no further changes. If I can't do that, I will lose their faith, and in their despair, I don't know what will happen.
Is that a threat? What you think of this civil rights bill of mine?
I think it's historic.
You favor integration?
I'm proud to say that I integrated the FBI several years ago.
You did?
Yes, sir. We have 2 Negro agents. They drive my car.
Well, I'm glad to hear of your enthusiasm for this bill, you see. Because it's important to me. You understand? Important to me. And anything that gets in the way is not helpful. It's like this article in the paper here. Now, where do you suppose this came from?
Well, I have no idea, Mr. President. But there are many people who feel the king is not a man to be trusted.
Well, we've talked about the tape.
The adultery is just the tip of the iceberg. I have voluminous proof of his numerous contacts over the years with active communist agents.
Oh, this Levison fella, right? Mm-hmm. Says who?
I'm sorry?
Who says he's an active communist agent? You make all these accusations, but I never see the reports. Now, why is that?
Mr. President, these are very, very delicate issues. These sources are a matter of national security and could be easily compromised, undoing decades of work.
Are you saying you can't tell me, the President of the United States, the source of these allegations?
And if you've seen the commercial for this, you know, he gets up there and says, it's not personal, it's just politics. I can't do it, but that's what he's doing.
Except that it was personal.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
And if there was ever a role that would take away from Mr. White on Breaking Bad, this is it. I mean, he went from that to, you know, so he made a very smart move
It
in
is a
doing
tour de
this.
force performance. The only thing that I think would have been great to add, during his campaign there was a very powerful commercial that aired only once, and it didn't even mention his name in it, of a little girl picking daisies,
That
picking
was the
petals from a
Goldwater.
daisy.
That was the anti-Goldwater campaign.
And that was the one that he's doing here. Remember, he didn't run a second
Yeah,
time.
right.
And this commercial basically shows the girl in the field, and then it freezes her, and she's counting, and then it morphs into a countdown for a nuclear explosion.
And then
That
you get the
commercial
explosion.
aired only once, and it is one of the most potent commercials ever aired, and it may well have kept him in the White
Well,
House.
it's
It certainly
certainly
played a role.
And it certainly killed
doing it.
any chance Goldwater had. And it can be seen on YouTube.
It can be, and it's very unnerving, but I highly recommend it. And I highly recommend this play.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. How many playbills?
I would give this 4.
I'd give
Maybe
it
even
4.5. 4.5. I
Yeah.
really had a wonderful
It's a really
time.
good play. I'll be looking for the man with the strange tie who produced it
That's our friend
at
Jeffrey.
Tony Times. Yes, I didn't realize this, but apparently he wears the same tie
Yes,
every
he
year.
does.
Maybe
Well, wouldn't
luck.
you? If you had he has had a good run for his money.
Jeff Richards is probably Broadway's busiest producer, and I think he has appeared on the Tonys more times than
Wearing that tie.
well, what's his name?
I don't know. Anyway,
Doogie Howser.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yes.
Neil Patrick
Harris. I do the same thing, unfortunately, with that. Well, the thing is, we know Jeffrey went from his days as a press agent, so when we speak of him, we know him. My play that I'm going to talk about for a moment is a musical called If Then, starring one of Broadway's favorites, and there are many favorites, females on Broadway this year in musicals, but this is Idina Menzel, whose name was garbled into
I
Madonna
honestly don't.
Bazool or some crazy thing like that. But
And I think they ran with it. Apparently, one night they put in this performance,
will be
and they
played
came
by-
up with
yes.
a parody
But
of her,
it's
of
John
her career.
Travolta, of course,
Right.
mangled her name, and will live in infamy because
which may have been the best thing that could have happened to her publicity-wise.
well, it was a lot more interesting than this play,
Oh,
unfortunately.
okay.
If Then is a kind of a sliding doors, if you remember the movie with Gwyneth Paltrow. It's a woman of a certain age, meaning in this case she's almost 40, and with men it's about 45 or closer to 50 when they have their midlife crisis. But she's having a midlife crisis, and she doesn't know what to do with her life, and her name is Elizabeth. So the two characters that run in, one is Liz and one is Beth. One wears glasses and one doesn't. If you think I know which one is which, I don't. But I kept thinking maybe she turned into Superwoman because, you know, if she had the glasses on it, I thought something was going to happen. Unfortunately, nothing did in either life. I was bored to tears. I did not know why we were bothered. I mean, there's got to be something that you care about when you see this. So I thought one of her lives would take precedence over the other. They were equally boring.
Well, in one of her lives, she marries and has children. In the other, she concentrates on her career. And we see the moment where it's if or it's then. And I 100% agree with you. The problem is, whether she's Liz or whether she's Beth, she's still the same person, and there's nothing all that different about her.
Or interesting. It's like, there's nothing interesting.
Yes.
I mean, people are not going to pay this kind of money to go, even to see Idina Menzel.
Who, according to my oldest daughter, since she appeared in Wicked and Rent, she is an icon, and she could retire.
I read somewhere, in some column somewhere, that people will go to see this because of her,
Yes,
and it might
I'm sure they
actually
will.
run because of her. Because the little girls who saw her in Wicked are now late teenagers, and
Right.
they're more interested in the other part of her life.
She also has Frozen to her credit.
And she just won that.
As a matter of fact, she said she would want to recreate the role if Frozen ever came to Broadway.
Well, that would be funny as the Ice
But
Queen.
I have to say, this play does strive to be politically correct, because they've got the gay friend couple,
I was going to say
the
that.
lesbian friend
Okay,
couple,
now-
and the bi friend, so that when you're tired of shopping, you can find something else to do.
Well, what's interesting, look at who's playing those. Her friend from Rent, Anthony Rapp, is her
and
quasi-gay.
yeah.
We're not sure.
Well, in one scenario he's
He is
gay, and
and
the other he's bi.
Yes.
And it's interesting, because at times this could be a continuation of their Rent characters.
Well, and then the other quickly, the La Chance and Jen Colella are the lesbian couple.
right.
And I mean, these are fantastic people. I mean, other shows they've all been stars on their own right, you know, and here they are supporting characters. We ought to take a look at that quickly.
All right.
And
All right, let's take a quick look at If Then. Okay, about the score, it is serviceable, nothing distinguished. To me, the song that I found most interesting was the one that had a lot of variation, that was built around the F word. I don't know what that tells you about the lyrics or about the score in general, but
you know who these people are? Tom Kidd and Brian Yorkey wrote Next to Normal.
Yes.
Which was also directed by Michael Greif. Now that was a fantastic look into a woman's tortured life when she was bipolar, and it was fascinating. The scenery was a takeoff on that also, because that was all sorts of metallic poles and platforms, and this one had a variation of that.
You know what?
Somebody said it was the cleanest New York they ever saw.
Name an Oscar Hammerstein hit between Showboat and Oklahoma.
I don't know.
Okay.
Oh.
Exactly.
I see what you're saying. Well, anyway, but it had so much going for it, and had the choreography of Larry Kegwin, who did a very nice job. He does very well with little groups of people. I commented on his stuff before.
You have great credentials for this musical.
And it doesn't
You have
happen.
a great idea. You don't have a great show.
Yeah, yeah.
And your conclusion?
Well, I was going to say the best thing about it is the cover. You know, there's your paths. My conclusion would be up at 2.5 at the most, and that's squeezing it.
I would concur.
Yeah.
I'm told they're trying to get John Travolta to come into.
Yes, we'll get him to come in and mangle her name. That would be fun.
All right.
So you have a different musical to talk
I do.
about.
I have Aladdin. Now, Aladdin, this is based on the Disney animated musical of the same name. Aladdin was part of what a lot of people, myself included, call Disney's second golden age. This was when they were coming out with films like The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, and The Lion King, and Aladdin. It is notable for a wonderful score and for one of Robin Williams' best performances as the genie. Well, he was the voice of the genie.
Yes, he was the
and
voice.
you know, finally he had a venue that could keep up with any shtick he did, and they used it to a full extent. And here, that's the problem. Not so much replacing Robin Williams, because you have James Monroe Englehart as the genie, and he's fantastic. He is the hardest working genie on Broadway. What he goes through for the "You Ain't Never Had a Friend Like Me" number, he should get a Tony and a drama desk just for that.
I wouldn't want to sit in the first 5 rows because that man sweats.
He is incredible. The problem is, this, if I saw this at a Disney park, I'd say, wow, this is really great stuff. But on a Broadway stage,
yeah, I know what
compare
you
this to The Lion King, compare this to Beauty and the Beast, even or to Mary Poppins, shows that either had this incredibly innovative staging like The Lion King, or this beefed up book like Mary and Beauty. And this doesn't.
It looked like a road show.
Yeah.
It had that feeling of, we'll put this all in the truck tonight and we'll take it to Iowa.
It's not so much, we understand you cannot, do the animation, but they're not even trying.
Not in this one,
They
no.
got rid of the parrot. Now Iago is a Jafar's, the evil prime minister's associate is a human, and that actually works very well. They got rid of the monkey and they gave it Aladdin an entourage.
They also had a threesome of kids who reminded me of the Ritz brothers. I don't know, the Ritz brothers were in the 30s. They were a trio of actual brothers who were a little bit like the Stooges, but a little more sophisticated, slightly. And that's what these guys reminded me of.
You know what? It works very well. They make a nice replacement. Jasmine's tiger is replaced by a female entourage that really is not as successful. But, in the movie, even the carpet had a personality. Here, yeah, they have the carpet. They have the whole new world. It's just
not a whole
very
new
creative. The magic tricks that the genie does during the "You Ain't Never Had a Friend Like Me" number, they are, it's like tricks you've seen 100 times. You could buy them at any amateur magic store.
One thing that was important about this when it came out was that it was the first non-white, non-European character that they had put into something. It was before they did the little
Pocahontas.
Or even the little girl with the bow and arrow. I can't remember her name.
Well, yeah.
Well, you know what I mean. But anyway,
Or for that matter, Mulan.
The Mulan, that's the one I was thinking of. So this was important for that reason as well.
Yes.
And it's funny because I don't think anyone in here is the names of the characters, the names of the real actors show you that they're not.
Well, interestingly, Jafar. This is the first, I believe. James Friedman, who was an actor I love, was the voice of Jafar in the movie. He has come and recreated the role, and he does it
That's
beautifully.
wonderful. See, you know that. I never saw that, so I don't really know.
Right, but he's an actor I've admired on stage for many years. I liked, Aladdin. Let's see. Hold on. Adam Jacobs and Courtney Reed as
I'm
Aladdin
assuming
and
Adam
Jasmine.
Jacobs is a nice Jewish boy, so I don't
have
think
no-
he's a.
Well, it's in the Middle East. Maybe he's maybe he's
yes.
Israeli. They're both nice in the
Yeah.
roles. But again, this is a show. It's not. I don't expect them to have the genie turning into William F. Buckley.
Why don't we show a little bit of what
Yes,
they do or
okay.
don't do with it?
All right, let's take a look at Aladdin. All right.
I hope,
Again,
I hope that
this-
showed what we were talking about. They always make it look better than it is for those,
And that's fine. I expected something much better than this. I can understand again if the genie's not going to turn into William F. Buckley the way he does, but it seems they said, well, we can't do this. We're not even going to try.
But I had another thing when I mentioned the Ritz brothers. There were a bunch of movies in the 30s, we watch them now on TCM, where they would go to these exotic shores, and very often it was the Arabian Nights, and Phil Silvers was always in these movies. That's what I was waiting for. I was waiting for Phil Silvers to come out, and I thought maybe he did once or twice, in some character here, because
Okay.
it was that faux, that fake, that non-realistic kind of cartoony.
So like a Hope and Crosby Road movie.
Yeah, that's another way to look at it, right? And,
Again, it feels very slapped together. Again, you know, major quality improvement over what you would see at Disney World.
That's not saying much.
No,
That's damning with faint praise there.
But compare this to what, and it's not like Disney is just starting on Broadway. They've been doing this for close to 20 years.
Well, the point is they've got it down to a science. They know what
well,
they can do.
no, that's the problem. If they think they've got it down to a science,
well, maybe that's why.
Then we're in trouble.
Yeah.
And this is the type of thing that people were worried about when Disney was coming in the first place. Still has a good score, still has a nice cast.
Well, it's Alan Menken and a whole bunch of other people,
the hardest
right?
working genie on Broadway,
Right.
but I was disappointed. I would give it 2 3/4.
Yeah, I'd go about the 2.75.
Yeah.
Is that what we're saying?
Two quick things I'll note.
Yeah.
At the performance that we saw, we had every host of Two on the Aisle ever there, or
Oh,
every regular,
right.
or everyone who's hosted the show more than I think 5 times. Jeff Goodman was there,
and
David
David
Lefkowitz.
Lefkowitz.
And then my daughter Miriam, who's 16, but generally gives the impression that she's younger. One of the ushers came and asked her, "How did you like the show?"
Oh.
Well, you know, they expect you would expect them to say, "Oh, yes, it was very nice. I had a lot of fun. Oh, it's so wonderful to see." Well, the critic's daughter gave him a blow-by-blow. This poor man.
Literally
what
blow.
she liked, what she didn't like.
Literally blow. I will say that. I know
Okay.
Miriam, and she is quite opinionated, and I always appreciate what she has to say. Cripple of Inishmaan, very non-PC title. One doesn't use the word cripple anymore. One says, you know, handicapped or disabled or something. But the Cripple of Inishmaan is, and it's Inishmaan with a double A, so it has that weird sound. The Cripple of Inishmaan is played by the prettiest boy on, and he's not a boy anymore. He's in his 20s, but this is, you know, Harry Potter grown up to become a supremely handicapped young man in Ireland.
Daniel Radcliffe.
What did I call him?
Harry-
Harry Potter. Sorry,
Well,
Daniel Radcliffe. No,
you
you're
know,
absolutely
he
right.
has a real name.
I was going for that, but I
okay.
didn't get there. And this is not going to, although there were a couple of young girls in the audience, this is not going to be for the Harry Potter crowd. It's a difficult play in that you, first of all, you have to go for the accents, which are real. They're not pulling them back to make sure that people understand anything. So you're getting a full on, and then again, it's a very dark story. Martin McDonagh did The Pillow Man. He did a movie about ghosts, the name of which I can't remember, but I remember interviewing him for that. And other than Daniel Radcliffe, none of these names are known because they are either Irish actors or, as in the case of Sarah Greene, a phenomenally talented young woman who got a Tony nomination as a result. But Mr.
Sarah
Radcliffe
Greene was
did
the
not.
young lady?
The egg lady, the egg girl.
Okay.
She throws eggs at everything and everybody for no reason whatsoever,
When
just
she's
because she does it. That's what
she
she
has
is.
an
That's what
attitude.
she does. But the interesting thing about this is that Radcliffe was overlooked, as was Denzel Washington, as were other, and in the next piece I'm going to talk about. I don't have my program.
Well,
for it.
when there is no next piece. This is the last show.
In the Realistic Jones, we have the fellow playing Dexter. So we had the two darkly people, you know, are on Broadway.
This let me have this. Just
Yeah.
Keep talking.
Well, so anyway, so it's a very dark story about this tortured young man who wants only 2 things in life. He wants to know what happened to his parents on the night that they were drowned together, and he wants to know. He wants to get out. He wants to get the hell out of Inishmaan. He hates it there. It's a little town
Right.
where they call him Crippled Billy.
Yes.
That's his name, Crippled Billy. You know.
Right. Well, everybody has strange names in this
Well, they
town.
do. But the other names are not. The other names are not based on a physical
Right.
manifestation.
Well, I have to tell you, this is by Martin
McDonagh, I said, yes.
He also wrote The Beauty Queen of
Linnane,
and you
and-
call this a dark play.
But that's a dark comedy.
Let me tell you something. It is, but compared to some of the other stuff that he's written, this is Neil Simon.
Oh, it is. Yes, it is his Neil Simon. You're absolutely right. It's funny. It doesn't.
It is, and I will tell you, I did like Daniel Radcliffe. I will say, you know, he has, you know, I would say if you're a Harry Potter fan, an older Harry Potter fan, you can still. I like the women playing his aunt. I thought the show was stolen to an extent.
They are.
By the 2 women playing his aunts.
Gillian Hanna and Ingrid Craig.
And especially there's a town gossip who tries to convince people he's a journalist. He has a mother who sits in a wheelchair, who he's trying to kill by giving her booze, and he's saying she's happy to let him.
She's happy to let him.
She
Exactly.
only has a couple of scenes in the play, but she walks off with everything. It's an ensemble here.
Well, it is.
Maybe he didn't get nominated because he is the star, but this is very much an ensemble.
Yes, but the young
work.
girl got nominated. You follow me? So I mean, there was a big snub going on. There was a whole bunch of stuff the next day saying,
Right.
look at who was snubbed.
Yes.
But getting back to what actually happens in the story, it also involves the filming by Robert Flaherty of this very famous Man of Arran, which was
Right.
one of the first silent documentaries. Robert Flaherty.
And Billy is hoping willing to go and get into the movies.
Well, Sarah, the girl, her name in the play is Helen. Helen actually goes.
Right.
And she has someone take her in a boat, and Billy lies and says that he's dying of TB, and he goes and he gets in the boat, and they take him, and the aunts don't know what's happened to him, and they don't hear from him. They get a letter or two, and they don't hear from him, and they don't know what's going on. Yeah. And then there's this weird scene that you don't know if it's real or if it's being done as an audition piece, where he's lying in bed. What seems like his last moments.
I did assume.
Yeah, I think it was
because
acting.
You know. There was something wrong with him. We are. I won't give it away.
Aside from walking like this,
well,
yes.
aside
from all of it, take another look at this cover. That's Harry Potter.
It is.
I mean, he's so adorable.
Look,
when you see him crippled,
he has done Equus, which is about as far away from you
I was
can
going
get.
to say, yes,
with the actor who played Uncle Vernon.
Yes, he's got a gorgeous body, though. I mean, for him to do this.
Okay, if you say so.
Yes,
he did How to Succeed, which. Yes, the guy's rise is magical, but again,
but he was
charming. He's not riding on Harry Potter. He is trying to do different things, and I think he succeeds here. I'm not shocked that he wasn't nominated for a Tony, but I did enjoy the play.
It was comedy. It was an interesting,
but a very dark
dark
comedy.
one. Now, a couple of years ago, I saw it at IRT. Ah. Very close, very small theater. You're right on stage with the people.
And you were happy because it didn't take place in a pub.
And it didn't take place in a pub, but I actually liked that version better.
Ah, okay.
Maybe it was because I could see the eggs running down their faces, and I knew they were real eggs, and I don't know whether it was the closeness or the cast. I really don't know. I didn't know any of those actors, so it makes no.
Except for Daniel Radcliffe, you don't know any of these either.
Exactly.
Your conclusion, though.
Oh, number 4.5.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, very high.
I will come up to 3.375 or maybe even 4.
Okay,
But I did like it.
Push it to a 4.
Okay. We'll push it to a 4.
Okay.
All right. And that is our show for the evening. And when you go to the theater, look for Leslie and me, us too.
On the aisle.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Ditto.
Not too wonderful.
Oh, God.
Bomb. Oh, he didn't like it. I did.
I like this.
Didn't. Very naked Alan Cummings.
Not one of Charles Busch's best.
Beautiful dancing.
Beautiful musical.
Very intelligent.
Not so much.
There's not really so much out there. Why don't we just stay home
and watch Two on the Aisle with me, Charles Gross.
And me, Leslie Hoban Blake.